Hi everybody, it's me again. I am back, and this time I figured I'd go along with the philosophical bent after the one that I did on morality. And this time I decided for a topic I would do a video on Taoism. Now I came through to Taoism through Stoicism. To me, Stoicism in the West, in Greece, started by Zeno of Citium and followed up by Marcus Aurelius, the Emperor of Rome, and such, was a perfect mirror for Taoism. And that's how I came to it, because I think I just Googled philosophies like like Stoicism, or else I was just looking at Stoicism and it compared it to Taoism. And I found that if you replace the word nature in Stoicism with the word Tao, or the way, you essentially have Taoism in the Western philosophical school of Stoicism. So I came to Taoism via that route, which I think probably a few people have done. And the first book that I actually read on Taoism as opposed to Stoicism was it's actually one of my favorite books now, is this one that a lot of you may be familiar with, The Tao of Pooh by Benjamin Hoff. And I got an old battered copy just from Goodwill for, I don't know, $2. And I've read it about 3 times since, and I'm rereading it now. Because it's so much fun to read, and it introduces the concepts, the basic concepts of Taoism, in a non-threatening and very simple way, that befits Taoism, really, because it's a very simple philosophy at its core. And the author explores Taoism through Pooh, and Pooh through the lens of Taoism. And he goes through each of the characters in Winnie the Pooh and the house at Pooh Corner, and explains them through the eyes of a Taoist philosopher. Pooh being the ultimate sage of the Tao, because he basically, how the author explains it is that because Pooh doesn't overthink things and he just is, and he's such a simple creature, that's the ideal not childish but childlike attitude that Taoists attempt to capture. And Winnie the Pooh is just such a good example of just going with the flow and living one's life as one is, as opposed to trying to please others or overanalyze and overthink everything around them. To Pooh, the world is basically just the world. It's the way it is. Things happen, and he reacts to them in his own simple-minded way. And simple-minded doesn't have to mean stupid, as people in the West tend to think. Simple-minded just means that you cut through the baloney and the bullcrap that we like to expound on for hours, like me, and you get straight to the heart of the matter. And that's what Taoism is all about: is getting to the meat of life, getting to the core of living, essentially, and observing the world around you. And the Tao is basically the way, and it's simply the natural way of things, how things flow and move, and it compares it to water. If you live in a way that flows like water and you're flexible, then you're said to be following the Tao, or living in accordance with the Tao, and that's, to a Taoist, is the healthiest way to live. So rather than go to something difficult and very, very weird like the Tao Te Ching, which is considered the foundational work of Taoism, I started with the Tao of Pooh, because it's just so simple and it's so easy to understand, and it's not as nebulous and like when I first read the Tao Te Ching after reading the Tao of Pooh, I was like, what? Like, this makes no sense. I mean, it starts out saying the word that can be spoken is not the eternal word, or the Tao that can be spoken of is not the eternal Tao. It starts out with a riddle. It starts out saying that you can't talk about the Tao, and then it goes on for 86 verses or so to talk about the Tao. So it's kind of like, what? So you kind of have to do a double take after you read the first paragraph of the Tao Te Ching and kind of re-examine your whole purpose, because your whole purpose for reading it. Because if you read that, you can basically just set it down and say, okay, I don't need to read this, because it tells me right there that it's not talking about the eternal Tao, and you have to live it to understand it. And the Tao Te Ching is a great book of Taoism, and it's wonderful, but you really have to be prepared for that mysterious nature that is there. And I think that's kind of a stereotypical thing that goes with the Chinese and with the Orient, as we used to call it, is that mysterious quality that we Westerners just don't really understand because we're so ordered and organized. A much more digestible and simple classic of Taoism is the Zhuangzi, which was written by a guy named Zhuangzi, and he wrote in a somewhat enigmatic way, but not as enigmatic as Lao Tzu does in the Tao Te Ching. And Zhuangzi's work is filled with mild sarcasm and undertones of humor. He kind of pokes fun a little bit at other forms of philosophy like Confucianism and Buddhism, and it really kind of illustrates the attitude of a Taoist of just kind of this slight mirth and this enjoyment in life that you don't find in too many other philosophical systems. So that's what I really like about Zhuangzi, and he has to be my favorite Taoist author, favorite classical Taoist author. And he was an interesting person, and he's the one who, you've probably heard the quote, I once dreamt that I was a butterfly, and upon waking I didn't know if I was a man dreaming, I had been a man dreaming he was a butterfly, or a butterfly now dreaming he was a man. And that's a pretty famous quote of Zhuangzi, saying that we can't know for certain the qualities of life around us. We just do what we do, and things tend to work out. You don't have to try your hardest or suffer and struggle. You just do what you do, and things pretty much are going to turn out all right. And that's basically the heart of Taoism. Just be, and you'll be. You don't have to try to exist. You just are. So, and that's one of the beautiful things about Taoism. It's so simple and it's so easy, and yet it's so difficult to follow. And people, particularly Westerners, that are clinging to these philosophies of trying your hardest and the self-made man, and they're just baffled by it. They can't comprehend it, and it's so simple. So when someone tells me, oh, I don't understand it, it's stupid, the Taoists are just simple-minded fools, I'm like, well, that's the entire point. Literally that is the entire point of Taoism. So people that say those kinds of things about it just don't understand, and it's because they're too complicated. They have too much fluff and too much junk hanging on their psyches to grasp such a relatively simple concept of just be. I mean, how hard is that? But unfortunately, it can be hard. It can be hard to let go of trying and struggling, and we're taught that life is a struggle. Like the Buddhists learn, life is a struggle, life is suffering, and even the Bible in Christianity explains that there is sin, and sin is suffering, and therefore you're going to suffer in life. Well, the Taoist says life just is. Things happen, and I let them happen, and then I go on my merry way, and that's that's all there is to it. It's really that easy. And that's what I really, really love about philosophical systems like Stoicism and Taoism, because they're just, if you follow nature and just live, then you'll be much happier than if you're saying, oh, I have to get this next thing, I have to get this promotion, I have to climb the corporate ladder, and I have to strain and struggle and fight with all my might against the against the enemies that are besetting me. And the Taoist just looks at that and kind of laughs and goes, why are you working so hard? Like, just do your job and you'll be fine. So that's kind of my take on Taoism, and I really enjoy it. I'll probably do another video talking more in depth about it, because that was just kind of my general overview of it. But that's that, and it fits in well with many religious and philosophical systems, including Jediism, which is at the Temple of the Jedi Order, which I'm a part of, and it's just it's just a good way of looking at life, and a healthy, I think, a healthy attitude to take of just living and not worrying and stressing so much about the things that happen to us or the things that we do. So that's that. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you didn't know anything about Taoism, I hope you know something about it now. If you already knew all this stuff, then I'm sorry. You can stop partway through. In any case, have an unbelievable day.